Some places are like cat magnets. The second you turn your back, there's a cat lounging on your car, strolling through your garden, or staring at you through the window like it owns the place. And then there are spots that cats refuse to go near, like some invisible force field is keeping them out. It's not magic. It's science, instincts, and a little bit of well-placed discomfort. Cats are picky about where they walk, what they smell, what they hear, and even what they feel under their paws. If something doesn't sit right with them, they'll avoid it like a toddler dodging vegetables. Today, we're diving into what cats can't stand, the things that make them pause, sniff, and immediately rethink their life choices. And if you're dealing with a cat invasion, whether it's a neighborhood stray or your own furry troublemaker pushing boundaries, stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll have the knowledge to keep them exactly where you want them. Cats live in a world of smells. Their noses are so powerful that if your house had a scent history, they could probably tell you what you had for dinner last Tuesday, who delivered it, and what kind of soap they used to wash their hands. But not all smells are welcome in the feline universe. Some are so offensive to them that they'll take one whiff and sprint in the opposite direction, like they just remembered they left the stove on. Citrus is enemy number one. Oranges, lemons, limes. What smells fresh and zesty to us smells like pure betrayal to them. One sniff of a peeled orange and a cat will recoil as if you just personally insulted its ancestors. Vinegar has a similar effect. To humans, it's a cleaning miracle. To cats, it's a crime scene. And then there's coffee. While most people can't function without it, cats act like one whiff of coffee grounds is going to send them into another dimension. Essential oils? Even worse. Lavender, eucalyptus, peppermint, these aren't relaxing spa scents to a cat. They're a hard no. You could put a single drop of peppermint oil near their favorite chair and they'll abandon it like a haunted house. The reason is simple. A cat's sense of smell is 14 times stronger than ours. What's mildly unpleasant to us is a full-on sensory assault to them. Imagine walking into a room where someone dumped an entire bucket of perfume, then set the bucket on fire. That's what citrus and vinegar smell like to a cat. If you want to keep them out of a certain area, a few well-placed citrus peels or a light mist of diluted vinegar might do the trick. Just be prepared for the offended glares, because a cat never forgets. Cats are all about comfort. They want the plushest blankets, the coziest corners, the sunniest spots on the floor. But put something under their paws that feels even slightly wrong, and they'll react like they just stepped onto the surface of the moon without a spacesuit. Sticky things? Absolutely not. Double-sided tape is like a personal betrayal. One paw lands on it, and suddenly they're lifting their feet in slow motion, shaking them off like they're trying to escape an invisible force. It's a universal rule. If it sticks, a cat wants nothing to do with it. Then there's aluminum foil. To us, it's harmless kitchen material. To a cat, it's a loud, crinkly nightmare with an unsettling texture. Put a sheet of it on the counter and watch their confidence vanish. One tentative step, and they'll recoil like they just touched molten lava. Spiky or rough surfaces? Equally offensive. Cats have hypersensitive paws, which means something as simple as a doormat with coarse bristles can feel like walking barefoot on gravel. Some people use plastic mats with little bumps to keep them off furniture. And while it's completely harmless, to a cat, it's like stepping on a field of tiny Lego bricks. The bottom line is simple. If it's sticky, sharp, or weirdly crinkly, cats will treat it like forbidden territory, which is why they demand the softest cushions but act personally victimized when they accidentally step on a single grain of rice. Cats are masters of stealth. They move like liquid shadows, hear the softest whisper of a treat bag opening from 3 rooms away, and somehow know the exact moment you're about to take them to the vet. But for all their heightened senses, there's one thing that turns them from graceful hunters into wide-eyed sprinting maniacs: loud and high-pitched noises. A vacuum cleaner is basically an unholy beast in a cat's world. It roars to life, invades their territory, and worst of all, it moves. Some cats react by fleeing to the nearest safe zone, while others freeze in place, mentally preparing for the end. Then there's the hairdryer, the blender, and any kitchen appliance that dares to break the sacred sound barrier of feline peace. But it's not just the obvious noises. Cats can hear frequencies humans can't, which means certain sounds that seem harmless to us, like a phone's high-pitched ring or a TV on mute, might be setting off alarm bells in their tiny feline brains. Ultrasonic devices designed to deter pests, some of them bother cats too. Even the crinkling of tinfoil can be enough to send a shiver down their spine. Sudden, sharp noises are even worse. A dropped pan, a door slamming, or an unexpected sneeze can make a cat jump so high you'd swear they momentarily defied gravity. The moment it happens, their fur puffs up, their eyes widen, and for a split second, they look like they're reconsidering all their life choices. If you ever need a cat to vacate a room immediately, just start shaking a plastic bag. It's the universal time to leave signal. But don't overdo it, because while a cat may forgive, they will never forget. Cats like control. They like knowing exactly where everything is, how it moves, and whether it's going to be a threat, a toy, or something they can sit on. The moment something becomes unpredictable, moving too fast, too erratically, or worse, moving when it shouldn't, their entire sense of security crumbles. Take kids, for example. A child running around, waving their arms, making sudden stops and starts. To a cat, that's chaos. Not because they don't like kids, but because their instincts tell them that anything moving unpredictably could be a predator, even if that predator is a giggling toddler with sticky hands. Wind is another offender. A strong breeze ruffling their fur might be tolerable, but when the leaves start skittering, the bushes rustle on their own, or worse, something lightweight moves without warning, instant suspicion. A plastic bag floating through the air is not just an ordinary object. It is a ghost, a menace, an abomination that must be fled from immediately. Then there are the worst offenders of all. Things that should be still, but suddenly aren't. A ceiling fan wobbling ever so slightly. A toy rolling across the floor with no clear explanation. A shadow shifting in a way that doesn't match the rest of the room. These are the moments when a cat stares with wide eyes, ears flattened, as if questioning whether they've just witnessed a supernatural event. It's the unpredictability that gets them. A cat wants to know how something will move before it does. If it doesn't, well, better safe than sorry. One good jump and they're out of there, leaving you to deal with the terrifying, all-powerful force that is a swaying curtain. Water and cats have a complicated relationship. They'll sit next to a sink, mesmerized by the slow drip of a faucet. They'll dip a cautious paw into a water bowl just to make sure it's still wet. But the moment water touches them on their terms, they react like they've been personally betrayed. It's not just about getting wet, it's the way water clings to their fur. Unlike dogs, whose coats can shake off moisture like a well-designed rain jacket, a cat's fur absorbs water and holds onto it like a sponge. This makes them feel heavy, cold, and worst of all, out of control. A wet cat is a cat that cannot escape danger as swiftly as usual, and that is simply unacceptable. But it's not just full-on baths they hate. A single drop of water landing on their back can send them into an existential crisis. A light misting from a spray bottle? That's a declaration of war. And heaven forbid they accidentally step into a tiny puddle. The dramatic paw shake that follows could win an Oscar. Some cats, of course, defy the stereotype. There are the rare few who wade into a bathtub like they're starring in their own reality show. But they are the exception, not the rule. For most cats, water is a line that should never be crossed, unless, of course, they're the ones crossing it. Which is why they'll knock over your glass of water, dip their paw in it, and watch it drip, just to make sure it still follows the laws of physics. Cats are heat-seeking creatures. They'll find the warmest spot in the house, curl up in sunbeams, and somehow locate the exact place where your laptop vents out heat. Because if something is warm, it belongs to them. But introduce cold air or a gust of wind, and suddenly they're looking at you like you violated an unspoken contract. A cold floor in winter? That's an act of betrayal. The second the temperature drops, they start walking like they're stepping on lava. Quick, delicate, testing each paw placement like they might fall into an icy abyss at any moment. This is also why a cat will wedge itself into your blanket at night and then refuse to move, even if you're barely clinging to the edge of the bed. Wind is even worse. A soft breeze? Fine. But a strong gust that ruffles their fur? unacceptable. Their survival instincts tell them that wind equals instability. Something is moving around them, and they don't know why. This is why outdoor cats will hunker down behind buildings, under cars, or anywhere the wind isn't trying to mess with their dignity. And then there's the ultimate betrayal: fans and air conditioning. You might think your cat would appreciate a nice breeze on a hot day, but no. Point a fan in their direction, and they'll stare at it with slow blinking contempt before relocating to a place where the air respects them. Because in a cat's world, wind is just another thing trying to ruin their perfect, carefully controlled existence. Cats are curious about a lot of things: boxes, dangling strings, why you insist on closing the bathroom door. But one thing they are not curious about is bitter or spicy food. In fact, the moment a cat tastes something even remotely unpleasant, their entire face contorts like they've just uncovered a deep betrayal. Bitter flavors are nature's way of saying, "Don't eat this," and cats take that message very seriously. That's why most anti-chew sprays taste bitter. One lick, and your cat will act like they need to file a formal complaint. They'll shake their head, stick out their tongue, and sometimes even try to wipe the taste off with their paws, as if that's going to help. Spicy foods? Even worse. While cats lack taste receptors for sweetness, they can detect bitterness and spice, and they want nothing to do with either. Capsaicin, the compound that gives chili peppers their heat, isn't just uncomfortable, it's downright offensive to them. A single sniff of cayenne or hot sauce, and they'll recoil like they just saw their reflection do something unexpected. This is why certain spices, like pepper, mustard, and cinnamon, can work as natural cat deterrents. Sprinkle a little cayenne in a place you don't want them to be, and they'll suddenly decide that spot is cursed. But don't worry, cats aren't the type to hold grudges over bad flavors. They'll just glare at you, dramatically lick their paw, and move on with their day, pretending they totally meant to walk away like that. Cats are expert escape artists. If there's a barrier in their way, their first instinct is not to go around it like a reasonable creature, but to test every possible way to jump over, squeeze through, or straight up phase through it using sheer feline determination. But not all obstacles are worth the effort, and that's where the right barriers can make a difference. A smooth, tall fence? That's a problem. Cats need grip and leverage to climb, so a slick surface with no footholds is basically an impenetrable force field. Add an outward-facing curve at the top, and suddenly your fence is no longer an obstacle. It's an unsolvable mystery, and nothing frustrates a cat more than a puzzle they can't crack. Then there's chicken wire. For some reason, cats hate walking on it. Maybe it's the uneven texture, maybe it's the instability under their paws, but whatever the reason, laying a bit of chicken wire over an off-limits area can make them rethink their entire life plan. Spiky mats and plastic prickle strips work the same way. Harmless to touch, but just uncomfortable enough that a cat will step on it once, pause, and then immediately turn in the opposite direction like they just read a no-entry sign. Even something as simple as a strategically placed piece of furniture can throw them off. Cats love open paths. Block one, and they have to think about their next move. And if there's one thing a cat dislikes more than being restricted, it's having to admit defeat. They'll walk away like they were never interested in that spot anyway, because if they can't win, they'd rather pretend they weren't playing in the first place. Cats may act like they rule the world, but even they have limits. Strong smells, weird textures, loud noises, unexpected movement. There are just some things they refuse to deal with. And now you know exactly what those are. Whether you're trying to keep a cat out of your garden, off your counters, or just away from your favorite chair, these tricks can make all the difference. Of course, every cat is different. Some might scoff at citrus, ignore your double-sided tape, and stare down a vacuum like it's a personal challenge. But most will take one look, one sniff, or one step in the wrong place and immediately decide this is not their problem anymore. If you found this helpful, let me know in the comments. And if you've discovered something else that cats absolutely can't stand, share it. I promise, cat lovers everywhere will appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and remember, in the battle of humans versus cats, you may not always win, but at least now, you have a fighting chance. Subscribe to Klawsome.